So we attended CSU Summer Arts for 2 weeks. It started July 8th and it ended July 21st. It was a really great program for me. Like I am quite shy. I'm not such a social person. And so Lions had been talking to us about it since fall semester, about like possibly attending and what it could mean. My biggest takeaway from Summer Arts was I wanted to gain experience, not so much maybe go in there and show off or try to promote myself. I think I really wanted to take in like this opportunity to see other artists, how they work. And then while we were at Summer Arts, we also got the opportunity to work in a much bigger gallery. So that was also really new, and I'm glad that I got to experience that first before we got to bring it back home and showcase this. So it was really great. CSU Summer Arts is for artists, not just for fine arts, but for other types of artists like music, dance, literature. We met a lot of people in different programs as well. That's kind of why my piece worked personally. Like if I were to explain why, it was because of the connections that I made. And I'm glad that those connections were beyond fine arts. It also was a lot of people who didn't know how to draw, who still participated in my piece, and who I was able to meet and get to know during that time. And I think that really continued to inspire me even now. It's an installation slash performance piece, at least the original one was. This one was more, it was an installation as well, but it was a little more different. We had lectures during Summer Arts. It wasn't just like, oh, we get to be in a studio and do whatever you want. We had to be there at 9 in the morning, bright and early for lecture every day. And during that time, you know, you really start to get a new perspective on things, especially with the topics that we were being taught, like capitalism, our society as a culture as a whole, community. That really began to inspire me, not just that, but the mentors that we had, Mark, Ron, Mark's family as well, William Rains, he's a professor there at CSU Fresno, Lions as well. They were a support for us, a big support system where we can really, whatever idea we had, we can explore it with them and tell them about it, and they can share their knowledge of being artists and really help us bring this together. So Mark, he had told me, he gave me a quote saying, galleries tend to keep the real world out and only invite people who can purchase their pieces. And so that really struck me as almost like a challenge. Like I want to invite someone to go in there and experience my piece, not just look at it and move on. I think that's that could also work, but I wanted people to take some time with seeing what was being made, and so I decided to make it interactive. At first I was going to make it more like a sit-in, like you get to sit with the project, but then I was like, no, maybe I should get people to participate in it. And so I made an installation piece where I wanted to represent people who weren't necessarily listened to or like noticed, and I represented children in my piece. So in the original installation, there's a child who is like, they're almost like tying their shoe, and this is representative of something that commonly happens in Mexico, where children will cut the front of their shoe to make more space so that when they grow, their shoe continues to fit when they can't afford more shoes. And so to me, I wanted to make a piece where I wanted to showcase people that they can make the change if we, work as a community, or even if they feel like as an individual, like what you do does matter. And so that was kind of like the gist of my piece. And I made it almost like a little fort. And so I wanted people to go in there. It was like a very blank slate, like very gray looking world. And I wanted people to go in there and change it in whatever way they saw possible, whether that was, well, I wanted it to be positive, that was like kind of my goal. And yeah, luckily people understood it and they were able to make the piece a lot more brighter, a lot better. And it was really, for me, someone who's typically quite shy, it was a great thing to see that all the people that I met along the way participated in my piece. And I actually didn't get to participate a lot in my piece because I was so busy talking to people. People were asking me how I came up with this, or what does it mean? And I really found that great, that people wanted to interact not just with the piece but with me as the artist. It really, really, to me, solidified community. And it was just a great experience overall. I was really nervous the day before. I was like, I don't think people are gonna get this. Like, I'm so nervous. And then the day of, it was just incredible. And I was so happy towards the end. I was like, I'm so glad that people got to enjoy it. Like, that they were a part of it. Some people still feel, like whenever I post it, some people still feel a little proud of their mark on the piece. And to me, that was just a really great experience. And it was new. I have never experienced or tried to do a piece like this, and it really taught me a lot of what I want to do for my future and my career as an artist, and I'm really glad that I got to experience that along the way.
Similarly to Lily, I came into summer arts with these lofty goals and ambitions. I remember specifically, like, I think it was the month or so before we went, I had like a bullet point of like, this is an idea I want to do, this is an idea I want to do. 7 different ideas that contained like these elaborate sculptures or robots even. I was very much just shooting for the moon. And when I got to summer arts, I kind of had this, not to say awakening, but my art, I think, dramatically changed. What I once thought was cool, I soon realized was because I had been educated in the fine arts, and how that impacts us as individuals became something that represented like strife even during summer arts. I felt at one point that I was so far behind, or that I was ignorant, and so these things were troubling to work through. But alongside our mentors, I got many new experiences and inputs on art. And so that, I think, helped me dramatically, especially Lyons. He was very helpful at every stage. William, I think, inspired me with this confidence and positive approach to art alongside the helpfulness. I think that was something I really needed at the time. Mark and Beth, of course, they offer these entirely new perspectives, seeing as they're not as incorporated in the fine arts as William and Lyons. I think they were extremely influential to me. And then Ron, of course, goes without saying, his impact. I think he initially was the one that introduced me to these new ideas. And so my pieces all are trying to accommodate and take this into consideration. And so something that stuck out to me specifically, Ron had said that to change the system, you must get within the system to develop the source of power. And so that's how you get the power behind your work. And at first I thought that was not something we should be planning on doing. I thought it was almost like a travesty to have all this potential and then going into the system, because you're just abiding by it at that point. And so I asked myself, how could I do something similar? How could I incorporate what Ron had told me? And so many of my paintings, of course, are paintings, which is something that has been killed for so long, right? Like 50 years, it's been a dead medium. It goes back to the Renaissance. And so by utilizing painting, I'm tapping into this idea of the fine arts. And I think my goal was the choices, the changes that I made to painting, the things on the inside, things on the outside, hopefully bring me out of the fine arts. As in, I'm going into the system and then putting efforts to change it. My pieces don't necessarily critique, but I do hope that they bring to light issues, such as the ideologies we have been convinced are true without necessarily rationalizing. And so my goal is to ask people, do you know you believe this? And for me, that's enough. If they like to read into it and see that maybe I'm criticizing them, that's great, but ultimately that is my goal. And so I have other pieces, more experimental pieces. I painted on a canvas and put it on the ground like a doormat. And so similarly to my other pieces, the fine arts idea, to participate, you must walk on the culture. Like Lily said, the real world is taken out of the gallery. And so I'm forcing them to literally walk on the real world to participate in the gallery, seeing as I painted it with the hammer. And so these ideas that I would have never thought about before, how you can change what has been done to what you'd like to say. I remember one time I was in the studio and I'd been having a hard week. And I was just sitting there like, man, like this is hard, I'm struggling. And then I asked Lyons, I was like, how do you make something that's never been done before? And he told me if he knew, he wouldn't be here, which I think really is honest, of course, but it was so useful to me because the goal is not to do something new. As a human, most thoughts or things you'll feel have been felt before. That doesn't mean they're less valuable. Instead, I think we should take what's been done and filter it through ourselves, and that's what really makes art, that's us. And so that was my approach to this. And then another piece, it was a sculpture. It was a block of ice with trash in it, and then I put it outside the gallery and then pointed mirrors at it. And so this, of course, is an analogy for climate change. I think that is kind of simple, but it does provide a tactile, physical approach to it. Because, of course, you hear global warming, well, there's still snow. And so I think we need this just simple, this is what's happening, let's acknowledge that, let's experience it together, rather than a maybe deeper, more philosophical thing that could be missed. And then my final piece was a video of me hand cutting a 10-inch by 10-inch square in grass. And similarly to my other pieces, it talks about the ideologies, specifically with American culture and our desire or need to survive, to fit in. So we must fit into society, which is interesting because we all believe ourselves to be individuals. We all believe ourselves to be different and better even. But my argument is the idea of the lawn. Specifically, where does this come from? Why do we believe in it? What does it represent? How does it represent us? And so I take it to this obsessive level where I'm cutting it by hand. I'm trimming it all the way to the dirt. I'm destroying this grass, making it weed. And so I'm asking, how is this any different than some guy who every single day wakes up and cuts his lawn for the perfect length so that his neighbors think he's cool or fits in? And so, yeah, I hope that my pieces bring up these questions, make people conscious, and that's all I could ask for. So that's what I was thinking about.
My exhibition, it's a 3-piece series. I kind of wanted, from the start, I wanted to make sure I could connect these 3 pieces and kind of loop them together, if that makes any sense. Before I came to Summer Arts, I kind of was thinking about how I'd do that, but as soon as I got there, I kind of lost track of that, and it's not in a bad way, but the more I started talking to people like Alec and William and Ron, the more I started to realize like I need to do like more with these pieces. I mean, I was kind of like at like a ground level in terms of like how I'd present these pieces. So through them and like through building connections, I kind of was able to, these pieces were able to evolve kind of. And so the first piece is this tree that was suspended from a tree originally, and it's called piñata. And I kind of wanted to connect that to the cultural like meaning of piñata, beating this thing that once you like beat it enough, it'll spill out goods for children. But in this context, I wanted to stuff the tree with little cardboard cutouts of palm trees. And the reason for that is because in other countries, we're going in, we're cutting down these trees and we're replacing them with palm trees so we can extract them for oil used for cooking and for beauty cosmetics. And so we're prioritizing what makes us happy and what gets us money over all the other, like the ecosystems within that country. And my second piece, it's called Take One. And I wanted this to be a little bit of a community piece. I wanted to give power to the people to kind of make some sort of change or take action within their community. So by displaying these little seed bombs I have here, these are used by shredding wet paper and making paper pulp and creating a little shell, then putting native California wildflower seeds inside that shell. I'm able to display them here for the people to take. And the reason for putting wildflowers, native wildflowers, in these is because typically, like cities, they'll plant stuff around the cities that isn't native. They'll plant invasive species, and it's just generally not good. So I wanted to kind of give people the ability for that sort of change in their community. And for my final piece, it's called For Remediation. I wanted to expand further on that idea of giving people the power to make change by teaching them how to plant their own tree, like the process of doing that. And so with these 3 projects, I kind of wanted to make this loop of deforestation. We're taking down these trees for our own benefit, but we're coming back by showing people or giving the people the ability to give back to the land.